Why engineers are better at creative work. There's a persistent myth that creativity lives on one side of the room and engineering on the other. Artists are said to be intuitive, emotional, and free-spirited. Engineers are framed as rigid, analytical, and obsessed with constraints. This division makes for neat stereotypes, but it collapses the moment you look at how meaningful creative work actually gets done. Engineers, as a group, are unusually well equipped for creative work, not despite their analytical mindset, but because of it. The same habits that allow engineers to design bridges, circuits, and systems also allow them to invent new aesthetics, tell better stories, and build original ideas that actually survive contact with reality. This isn't an argument that engineers are more imaginative than artists, or that art should be reduced to math. It's an argument that engineering thinking is a powerful creative engine, and that many of the most effective creators, whether they call themselves artists or not, are quietly using engineering principles every day. Creativity is not magic. It's a system. Creativity is often treated as something mystical. Inspiration strikes, a genius has a vision, and the work pours out fully formed. That story is comforting, but it's mostly fiction. In practice, creative output emerges from systems, feedback loops, iteration, constraints, failures, revisions, and refinements. Engineers are trained from day one to think in systems. They learn to break complex problems into parts, understand interactions, test assumptions, and revise designs when reality pushes back. When engineers approach creative work, they don't wait for inspiration. They build scaffolding that makes inspiration inevitable. A songwriter experiments with chord progressions. A filmmaker storyboards scenes and tests pacing. A writer drafts, edits, restructures, and cuts. These are not mystical acts. They are engineering workflows wearing creative clothes. Constraints don't kill creativity, they shape it. One of the biggest misconceptions about creativity is that it thrives best in total freedom. In reality, unlimited choice often paralyzes it. Constraints give creativity something to push against. Engineers understand this instinctively. Every engineering problem comes with constraints: materials, cost, time, physics, safety, power, bandwidth. Creativity emerges not by ignoring those limits, but by working within them cleverly. In creative fields, constraints play the same role. A haiku is powerful because it is short. A punk song works because it is simple and fast. A black and white film forces attention onto light and composition. Engineers are comfortable operating inside constraint spaces, mapping what's fixed, what's flexible, and where the real freedom actually lives. This mindset prevents a common creative failure mode: endless ideation with no execution. Engineers ask, what can be built now with what I have? That question turns abstract creativity into tangible output. Engineers prototype instead of perfecting. Many creative people get stuck chasing perfection. They want the idea to be right before they start, the style to be fully formed, the voice to be unmistakable. Engineers are trained out of this instinct early. Engineering culture values prototypes. Early versions are expected to be ugly, incomplete, and flawed. Their job is not to impress. Their job is to reveal information. When engineers apply this approach to creative work, they iterate faster and learn more. A rough demo, a bad sketch, a placeholder animation, these aren't failures. They're test rigs. Each version answers specific questions. Does this idea hold attention? Does this structure collapse under stress? Where does it feel wrong and why? This feedback-driven loop is devastatingly effective in creative domains, where waiting for perfection often means never finishing anything at all. Engineers are comfortable being wrong. Creative work requires risk. You have to try ideas that might fail publicly. Engineers are trained to treat failure as data rather than identity. In engineering, things break constantly. Circuits don't power on, code throws errors, models don't match reality. The response is not embarrassment, it's diagnosis. What assumption was wrong? What variable changed? What signal did we miss? Applied to creative work, this mindset is liberating. A bad piece isn't proof of incompetence. It's evidence of exploration. Engineers are less likely to emotionally fuse with a single idea, which makes them more willing to discard weak concepts and double down on strong ones. That detachment doesn't kill passion. It protects it. The creator keeps moving forward instead of freezing under self-judgment. Engineers think in cause and effect. Strong creative work doesn't just look good or sound nice. It produces effects. It evokes emotion, communicates meaning, changes behavior, or reveals something hidden. Engineers are trained to think in terms of cause and effect. If you change this parameter, the outcome shifts. If this system is overloaded, that failure mode appears. This thinking maps cleanly onto creative goals. A writer asks, if I reveal this information here, how does it change the reader's emotional state? A filmmaker asks, if I hold this shot longer, what tension does it build? And a designer asks, if I simplify this interface, what actions become easier or harder? These are engineering questions. They treat creative choices as levers, not decorations. Engineers build mental models. At the heart of engineering is modeling, simplified representations of reality that are good enough to reason about. Creative masters do the same thing, whether they realize it or not. A novelist builds a model of human psychology. A musician builds a model of tension and release. A visual artist builds a model of perception and contrast. Engineers are comfortable working with imperfect models, refining them as evidence accumulates. This allows them to explore creative spaces methodically without losing intuition. The model guides experimentation. Intuition chooses where to push. Creativity benefits from documentation. Many creatives resist documentation. Notes feel restrictive. Structure feels bureaucratic. Engineers see documentation differently. It's external memory. Sketchbooks, notebooks, version histories, and design logs are creative force multipliers. They allow ideas to compound over time instead of evaporating. Engineers naturally document decisions, alternatives, and failures, creating a searchable record of their thinking. This habit supports long-term creative projects, where insight rarely arrives all at once. The work evolves, and the documentation becomes a map of that evolution. Engineers are already hybrid thinkers. The idea that engineers are purely logical is outdated. Modern engineering blends math, aesthetics, ethics, communication, and storytelling. A good engineer must explain ideas clearly, persuade stakeholders, and design experiences for humans, not equations. The hybridity makes engineers unusually adaptable in creative fields. They can move between abstract ideas and concrete implementations, between vision and execution. They're comfortable zooming out to see the system and zooming in to fix a single detail. Many of the most influential creators, Leonardo da Vinci, Buckminster Fuller, Brian Eno, did not respect the boundary between technical and creative work. They treated it as an artificial division. Creativity that survives reality. The ultimate advantage engineers bring to the creative work is this. They build ideas that survive contact with reality. Plenty of ideas sound good in theory. Fewer can be executed. Even fewer can be repeated, scaled, or sustained. Engineers instinctively ask questions that strengthen creative work. Can this be built again? Can it be maintained? Can it adapt when conditions change? These questions don't dilute creativity, they harden it. The takeaway. Creativity is not the opposite of engineering. It is one of its natural outputs. Engineers are trained to explore uncertainty, work within constraints, prototype relentlessly, learn from failure, and think in systems. These traits map directly onto effective creative practice. When engineers embrace creativity, and when creative fields embrace engineering thinking, the result is work that is not only imaginative, but durable. The future belongs to people who can invent and execute. Engineers have been practicing that synthesis all along.